Hey there, y'all. We pieced together and posted this video a few days ago on one of those Facebook craft groups. Got a lot of good feedback on it, and making this video now because there were a few questions on how we did some of the things we did to it. I'll just kind of give a brief overview and break it down. So we started off with just a basic Armoire TV center, whatever it is. Added a couple of coats of paint, chalk paint on the outside. No primer, no sanding, no nothing underneath it. Just the 2 coats of that. It gives it more of a, I don't know, distressed look, I think they call it. But then we upgraded the hardware so that all the knobs matched as compared to before. Again, this is an older Armoire that we've been meaning to get rid of. On the inside, it's just basic contact paper. You choose, you be creative. The key thing with that is making sure there's no air bubbles or creases. Use an X-Acto knife to cut it to fit once it's in. And then you can use command strips, command hooks. You know, it's all up to your imagination and what you have available for space. We've even seen some that use magnetic strips in those spaces on the doors. You know, they can have a good place for their pins or scissors, whatever. For the legs on this tabletop here, it's just 1x3 boards and 1x2 board across with a 30-inch piano hinge. You can see I have those picture hooks drilled in there with a bungee cord to hold it, keep it from falling out when you open it. There's also a handle. I did use a small piece of plywood. It's a 1/2-inch plywood to match the tabletop, and use that as a spacer to kind of keep you from getting your fingers caught in the hinges. That's just basic off-white paint, and then I used a honey color stain with acrylic clear coat on top. And then the shelf is the same white paint that matches the bottom. Very simple there, I'll get into that in a second. But we have the power strip built in at the bottom. That way everything stays plugged in with a power surge and multiple outlets depending on what you need. What I'm trying to show here is the eyelet hooks that are screwed in at the top with the bungee cords and the little ball to keep it from getting pulled through. So kind of a dark shot so you couldn't catch it. But that light there, I'm going to go into detail on how I built that at the end of the video. Back to the shelves though, that's a very simple build. 1x3, some 1x2s, pocket holes with pocket screws, 1/2-inch plywood and some paint. I mean, really it's all about the space you have available, what you need as far as what you're storing in there or organizing. You know, you may not need that many shelves, or you may need more shelves. It's up to you. This light was added out of necessity today. As you can see here, it's a LED light, very efficient. It provides a significant amount of light for whatever you're working on there. Our particular craft station is for the crit cut and sewing, whatever art kids get into. That's why I chose to put 2 layers of the acrylic on there to protect the tabletop. And even though it is a 1/2-inch sheet of plywood and then the weight of the legs, you can see here I only use one hand to lift it up and get it into place in order to put the bungee cords. So it's really not that heavy. The main idea from this project came from a different YouTube video that did the same thing with an Armoire, just different sizes and dimensions. But you know, that's up to you guys. Whatever you have, it's the beauty of woodwork is you can change it up as you go to whatever suits your needs. For instance, here I have a small wooden block on the back that prevents us from screwing the piano hinge on the bottom straight to the Armoire, so I had to put a spacer. And what you're seeing here is we did the same concept on the bottom cabinets with the contact paper and, you know, organizing stuff, you know, for your projects. It's whatever suits your needs. And the real project long term is going to be how long we can keep this thing organized. But yeah, you can kind of see there is I had to use a 1x2 spacer for the hinge. It's still secured in there. What I did was when I mounted it to the floor of the Armoire in that space, was I pre-drilled the holes, dropped some wood glue in the holes, wood glue along the seam of where it would sit, and then I screwed it in. So it's still pretty sturdy. That about wraps it up for the Armoire Craft Center itself on this upgrade project. And we're going to get into how I pieced together the shop light. Oh, look at that. Learning how to edit these videos. So it's a very simple list of supplies here. 1x2 board, 4-foot section, LED shop light, extension cord. I want to say I used 3 1/4-inch, 2 1/4-inch, 2-inch, and 1 1/4-inch, 2.5-inch, some washers and wing nuts. That's it. I cut the wood into 20-inch sections, 2 of them. Prepped it for the finish and realized with a dust mask on, you cannot blow the sawdust off. Whatever. I stained it to match that tabletop with a little piece of plywood to mount it, and then 2 spacers, which you're about to see. The holes that I drilled were in that one right here is a 1/4-inch hole to match the bolt. On one side of each of those pieces, I did a 1/4-inch hole, and the other side is a 3/8. That way it's a little bit bigger and it gives it more wiggle room when you're manipulating the shop light or moving it. In between that bolt and the 1x2 and the plywood is 2 washers to help move a little easier. You can see I connected them there, and then the shop light mounted. To kind of keep things cleaned up a little bit, I did end up wrapping the power cord around the wood a little bit. And I even tucked it in between the spacer up there where that first wing nut is on the ceiling. Then ran the extension cord down to the power strip. You see it stows away nice and neat, and then comes out. As you saw in the other portion of the video, how bright that thing gets. This thing really helps out. So I hope this generates some idea for you guys. Have at it, get to it, and let's go.